Okay.
Perfect. So for those of you that I haven't met yet, I'm Asha, and I am very grateful to be returning here to Justice Through Code as the instructor. Since graduating from the program, I've delved further into software development as an apprentice, as a mentor, and as a teaching assistant for Justice Through Code. And I'm really, really happy to be embarking on this journey with you guys, bridging my 15-year tenure in finance with tech to empower each of you with the essential computer science building blocks. So with that said, welcome to your transformative learning experience where we're going to be coding together and building your future. So this is the first installment of the technical curriculum, and we're going to be doing an overview of what you'll be learning for the next, I guess, 16 and a half weeks. Like I said, Jessica's here with us. I'm hoping Mark is going to jump on. And so your technical instructional team is Mark, myself, and your teaching assistant is Jessica Lotto. So Jessica, why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Asha. My name is Jessica. I graduated in the last JTC cohort. I was brand new to coding. I transitioned careers from healthcare to coding, and I didn't know anything, never coded before. I didn't know what a terminal was. I didn't know how to make a print statement, and I learned so much. So I'm really excited to continue on my coding journey, and I'm really happy to be back at JTC because this community is really supportive and welcoming. So welcome, everyone.
Perfect. So the first thing we're going to go through is the timeline and just kind of go through what topics we're going to be going through and what you can expect when you finish after week 17. So essentially, before I jump into each week and what we're going to be doing, I just want to go through the general topics. So we're going to be going through fundamental knowledge. So basically developing a strong foundational understanding of computer science principles, programming concepts, and Python language fundamentals. We're going to be doing problem solving, acquiring effective problem solving skills through Python programming. By the end, you'll be capable of approaching and solving a variety of programming challenges, whether they're leak code, whether they're HackerRank, or whether they're challenges that we've developed through JTC. We're going to be delving into algorithmic thinking. So basically, you'll be able to demonstrate your ability to design and implement simple algorithms and analyzing problem requirements and devising efficient solutions. So essentially, like, what is the better of multiple solutions? Kind of going through the logical steps in your mind as to there's 100 different ways to solve multiple coding problems, whether it's you're doing it in leak code or you're doing it in real time on a job. So how do you pick what is the best solution? We're going to be going through that logical process. We're going to be doing web application development, so gaining practical experience in building web applications using Flask, showcasing the ability to integrate back-end and front-end technology. So we're going to be delving into Flask. Previous cohorts use Django. Flask is a little bit easier to jump into and build straight off the bat. It's a lot less commands. It's a little bit easier to pick up. So we'll be using Flask. Another big thing is building your collaborative skills, cultivating the capability to collaborate on technical context, working effectively on a team, to achieve common programming goals. We will not be doing a big project at the end of the cohort. What we'll be doing is spending 2 weeks on algorithmic thinking, critical thinking, on problems like leak code, again, HackerRank type problems, or problems that we have devised that we'll be working on together as a team. Again, pseudocoding, meaning that we're going to walk through the problem and kind of type it out in like a Word document of what steps do we need to take, like a recipe, then solve it together and code it together as a team. And lastly, again, diverse implementation strategies, walking through different ways to solve the same problem and why one is faster or better in different situations. So really thinking through the whys, what works, what doesn't work, and why those approaches make sense in a coding situation and real life situations when you're in your job and, you know, or in a technical interview, and how to explain those decisions to a interviewer, or you're in your stand-up at work. So typically in an interview, typically in a real world situation where you are a software developer, you're going to have daily stand-ups where you're explaining what you're doing in that day, and someone on your team is going to ask you, why are you doing it that way? Not in a combative way, but just in a teamwork situation, so they can build off of your code as well. So it's really just tackling complex programming challenges and how to explain it and articulate it in a positive way. So those are what we're going to do in the next 17 weeks. It sounds like a lot. It sounds daunting. We're going to take baby steps to get there. Don't feel stressed. We're here with you. It's all good. Okay. So weeks 1 through 3, what we're going to be doing is foundational settings, Python basics, logic, and structures. Jessica, do we have any questions so far?
No, we're okay.
Okay, cool. So we're going to be doing like program overview, objectives and outcomes, the tech roadmap, and, you know, like I said, what we're doing today, the lesson structure. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing thinking like an engineer, how to get your mind into that critical thinking mindset, expectations and your support systems, cultivating curiosity, and overcoming the imposter syndrome. Everybody has it. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Everybody thinks that they don't belong. We all belong. Don't worry. Then we're going to do basics of and syntax in Python and the first steps in your programming journey. We'll do variables and the role of a variable in coding, when you should use a variable, what types of variables there are. Then we'll do printing and output techniques. And then we'll do fundamentals in math. Again, this is not math where I'm going to ask you to do calculus. Don't worry about that. There's no geometry involved here. No worries. Understanding strings. Again, string is a word, something that's within quotes, and exploration of different data types. All good. At the end of week 3, there will be an assessment. Okay, there will be a HackerRank like you guys took, not to the degree of difficulty that you took to enter. Some of you guys took a flagship HackerRank. So there will be an assessment that you must pass in order to continue weeks 4 through 17. Okay, so that HackerRank test will include all of the knowledge that was presented to you from weeks 0 through 3. Okay, any questions? All good. Okay. So weeks 4 through 7 are exploring complex programming concepts. So we're going to be talking about patterns and functions, That includes dictionaries and building functions, and the accumulator pattern, mastering functions and debugging, writing the best practicing of debugging, which is a art in itself for any good coder. Okay, learning how to debug your code, finding problems, is an art. It takes time to become a good debugger, to find your own problems, to find other people's problems is its own specialty. So taking the time to learn how to debug and the techniques and best practices is something we're going to take time to do. Handling exceptions in Python code, working through external data through Python modules. And then we're going to do web development. Again, understanding the basics of the internet, understanding HTTP essentials, what is like security, what is, you know, what is a LAN versus a WAN, like all the concepts of internet we're going to basically understand. When you put in a web address, what happens, how do you get information, what happens in your computer, all those steps. Then we're going to do insights into APIs and nested data. How do you get information from a website like Wikipedia? How do you ask for that information? If you wanted information from Amazon, like how many packs of reams of paper they sold, not to that extent, but whatever. Somebody who has data, NASA, how do you ask for that information, that packet of information? We're going to go through that, and how do we use it? How do we manipulate that information? We're going to be doing that. And then we're going to be doing the introduction to HTML and basic CSS styling. Okay. And then we're going to do front end and back end Flask, how to launch a simple website. Nothing too elaborate, but just basically how do you build a website using Python and Flask, front end and back end. Okay, fine. Weeks 8 through 11, we're going to be diving into advanced concepts and technologies. Again, front end using JavaScript. We're going to touch on how do you implement JavaScript on front end development. Integrating your Python. We're going to do a to-do app, which every software developer in the world does a to-do app. So we're going to do a to-do app together. And then we're going to do something called object-oriented programming, which is using classes, which is an advanced Python function. So that is one of the more advanced concepts that we're going to be touching on, and we'll spend 3 days doing that. The next thing we're going to be talking about is efficiency and speed of your code. So big O notation. So this is what I'm talking about when we're speaking of when there's more than one way to solve a challenge or write code. When you think about which way to write code, you always want to think about efficiency. How long it's going to, how much memory or space your code is going to take in a computer matters. If you think about the stock exchange, people who are companies that have billions of dollars invested in trading stocks, time and speed make a huge difference. That millionth of a second that trade takes longer makes a difference when you're talking about billions of dollars. Okay, so if your code is slow and their trade took an extra 5 seconds to occur, it's going to cost a company like JP Morgan Chase or whoever, Bank of America, whoever these, the big finance companies are, right? If your code is slow and their trade that that person entered took an extra 5 seconds could cost their client $1 billion. So if you think about it that way, that's what big O notation is. It tests how fast your code is running. So we're going to talk about that and how to measure your own code. So for everything that you write, for every print statement, for every loop that you have, everything has a speed attached to it. So we're going to talk about how to calculate those things. So then we're going to talk about recursion, which is for solving complex problems. Again, these are all very advanced coding concepts that we're going to learn together. Then we're going to build an inventory system together. And then we're going to go into algorithms. We're going to learn greedy algorithms, 2-pointers, hash tables, and sets, stacks and queues, and go into a lot of fun. It will be fun. When we do algorithms and we do these advanced problem solving techniques, this is the time that you have to be patient with yourself. You have to sit in a quiet room and practice. That's the only way to learn it. As any coder, Jessica, you can attest to this, that when you're doing algorithms, the only way to learn it is just to practice. You can't sit there and memorize it, can't do anything. It's just, you just sit there and you practice it. Then we're going to delve into real world scenarios. So we're going to spend several weeks doing problems together and doing sorting and searching and skill refinement. We're going to do a lot of leak code challenges. I can tell you that from the time that I finished JTC until today, I have done over 300 leak codes. I have spent over 10,000 hours coding. So it's important to think about, if you want to be ready to go into software development or become a software engineer, that's the kind of dedication that you have to put into learning. It's spending 8 hours a day just engrossing yourself into these types of things. Any questions? I see a lot of little notes in chat.
People are feeling intimidated and probably overwhelmed, which I would say is a really exactly where you should feel right now, and it's where we all felt. And we're with you. We're going to be with you every step of the way, and you can do this. Okay.
Yes. So I want to say this too. I did Justice Through Code. I graduated spring of 22. So you're talking a year and a half ago. It's not that long ago. So we're going to take you baby steps. Okay, this is not, we're starting with printing. How do you print hello world? And we're going to get you guys through every single one of these concepts one step at a time. Don't feel overwhelmed, but it does take a lot of commitment on your end. There's a lot of before class work that you guys have to do as well. So that's the important part here, that if you're doing the before class work, you'll be fine. I have all the faith in the world. And Jessica, your cohort was how long?
We finished in March.
Right. So you guys did 3 projects in between. So you guys did a capstone. So like there's a difference between your cohort, which was like 20 something weeks, and this cohort, because there's no project, there's no massive project at the end. What this cohort is doing is we are focusing on problem solving, right? Which is critical for software engineers. It's that algorithmic thinking that you need to be able to get to the next step. It's to do leak code, it's to do HackerRank, it's to do all these things. We're spending 2 full weeks working on building to get you to the point where you're doing leak codes, those types of problems, even if it's easy ones, just to get you into that mindset that you can get to that page of leak code and don't feel intimidated. Because when I started, when I first started doing leak code, I couldn't do it. Like I would the first time I looked at leak code, I was like, what the bleep is this? No, done. Turn it off. I'm like, I can't do this. Can't do it. And now it's much more comfortable. But that's you having faith in yourself and faith in us to teach it to you. And we're going to do it. Okay. All right. There's lots more comments. Okay. I can't see the comments when I have the screen sharing. So, okay. So we're going to talk about technical assignment due dates. So we met as the instructional team, and after Alana spoke to you guys last week in orientation, and there's been a small change in the due dates. So I want to talk about that a little bit. So there are before class quizzes. Those quizzes for technical are due before class at 6:29 each day. That is different than what Alana said to you originally, because that has changed.
I have a question.
Okay. I don't know who's speaking.
I think there was one due today before class. I tried. Oh, this is Naima. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think there was one today due before class, but I tried to do it and it wouldn't let me get in for some reason.
I don't know necessarily if there was one. Was there a quiz today?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
Yeah, there was. And I clicked it and tried to do it, but it wouldn't let me get in. I was like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, there was a pre-class quiz. I'll
Did
check.
you try it before
Yeah, it was.
6:29?
I'll check it. Asha.
Yeah, I did. Well, actually, it was yesterday. It was some YouTube videos I looked at, and then I got home from work. I got home here like 5:40, and I tried to do it, and I tried to click the link. It wouldn't let me go on to do it, and
Okay.
it was 5 points. I didn't want to miss out on it, but it wouldn't let me in.
Okay, Dario's gonna look at it for you. Cool. Yeah, we understand that there's been a little bit, obviously, as we discussed, the curriculum has changed quite a bit, and since the original, we were supposed to launch flagship, so we're adjusting everything very, very as quickly as possible. So you guys bearing with us as we're trying to get everything in Canvas and solidifying all the schedules. And we apologize if there's been some confusion. We're trying not to confuse everybody. So thank you so much for your patience. Kat has a question. You can come off mute, Kat.
Yeah, I don't know where you guys are, but a thing to remember is time zones.
Everything is due Eastern.
Yes.
No matter
So
where
at
you are,
5:40, your time might not necessarily be 5:40 Eastern. So that's something to keep in mind too, as opposed to as far as like turning in assignments and when they're due.
right.
Like I said, I don't know where you guys are, but it's something to keep in mind.
Hey, Asha, Naima submitted that quiz already.
Okay,
It was already submitted, Naeem.
Andrew, go ahead.
So I know that there are different levels of I guess abilities in this class, but what I was wondering, I've been doing Coursera and Code Academy and stuff. Would you recommend us just, in getting more comfortable and preparing, just going with the resources that Justice Through Code provides? I know that just maybe, I don't know, getting things confused, or would you still recommend us going to look at other things, or just as far as technical and learning going, along the way?
Okay, so my recommendation has for anything that you're doing is to learn as much as possible from wherever you can, because coding is coding, right? It's going to be consistent no matter where you're getting that information from. Now, make sure that you're learning Python, right? Because if you're going to be learning like Java or C# or whatever like that, whatever that is, whatever other language it is, the syntax is going to be different. And some of the applications are going to be different. So my recommendation is that if you are going to go learn, which is highly recommended, by the way, because it's a lot of content, and it will only behoove you if you're learning on your own as well. That'll only help you. So it's really important that you're doing Python, right? So that's my recommendation. Cool. Somebody else had their hand up and then they put it down. It was a young lady. Maybe it was Sandra.
It was a it
Oh,
was
okay.
accident.
Okay. Okay. So then let's talk about the after class quizzes. So after class quizzes are due each Friday of the same week. So your Monday, so it'll be due, all quizzes, after class quizzes are due that Friday of the same exact week. Your exercises are due the second Friday. So they're going to be due the following week. Does that make sense to everybody? So your before class quizzes are due before class at 6:29 Eastern. Your after class quizzes are due the Friday of the same week by 11:59 p.m. Eastern. And your exercises are due the second Friday of the following. So basically the Friday of the following week. So if today is Monday and you have an exercise today, it's not due until September. Where's my calendar? So if you guys had an exercise today, the exercise would be due on September 8th. Does that make sense? Okay.
So I
Yeah.
have a question. Is the
Sure.
exercises bi-weekly or is it every second Friday? Because when I see exercises due second Friday, is it second Friday of the month or
No, they're not due bi-weekly. You're always going to have assignments due every Friday. It's just which assignments are due.
Yes. So now my question is, quizzes is every Friday, right?
Mhm.
Now exercises is the Friday after the quiz. So basically every Friday is going to be a quiz and an exercise, correct?
Yes.
All right, that's what okay.
It just
all right.
depends on which cycle of the exercise it is.
Is exactly is never I get it. Thank you.
You
Appreciate
cool?
it.
Okay,
Oh,
And
my
I'm
name is
not-
Ephraim. I apologize.
Ephraim.
My name is Ephraim.
cool. And I'm trying, like, we're trying really hard not to make the exercises like overwhelmingly difficult or long. Even though we say the exercise should take you 60 minutes, it should not take you 60 minutes. Like we're just giving you time to like think through it and code it. Like typically your exercise should take like 30 minutes and you're going to have time in class, every class, to do your exercise. Okay. So you're thinking most classes, you're going to have at least 30 minutes to work in your pod time. And I'm going to go through this to work on your exercise. So that means that 20 minutes outside of time for that exercise. So I'm going to go through the class structure in a minute. So we're not trying to overwhelm you with, you know, a ton of like exercise time and before class studying, but there's you know, the effort, as much effort as you can make to stay on track is the best thing to do, because if you get behind, it's going to be an issue. Okay. Any other questions about due dates? And again, I apologize. Alana was not incorrect about giving you the dates. It's that after thinking through it, it made more sense to make this adjustment. Is it Draquan? If I mispronounce it, please correct me.
You pronounced it right.
Okay.
So for the before class quizzes, it'll be issued on the same day. Like say tomorrow we got a before class. It'll be issued tomorrow, and we got to do it right before class and turn it in before 6:29.
No. So so we're trying to get the content in right now. So typically what'll happen is we're going to be caught up pretty soon, but you'll have content 2 weeks ahead of time.
Okay.
Okay, so typically, because we're at the beginning at this point and we're trying to get the content in, the problem is that we have the content, but getting it into the software of Canvas is what's taking time at this point. So we're trying to get it into Canvas, and that's what's taking time. But we're going to get on a cycle where you're getting content 2 weeks in advance.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. James.
Yeah,
Oh.
so just kind of like, because I've had you as an instructor before, so everybody can hear it. You have, when we were doing HTML in the last cohort, when we were doing a project, you'd sit there and be like, I'm going to put you in a breakout room after this lesson to kind of work on your assignment. So it's not as scary as everybody thinks. And two, she said the only thing is technical classes, the quizzes will be due before the class. Not every class we have during the week is technical.
Right. So pay attention. And in courseworks, it's going to give you that schedule, right? It'll tell you due by, right? So just pay attention to courseworks. Canvas, sorry. It's like all these different names. I apologize. So trying to keep the names right. So Canvas, pay attention to the dates. They're correct right now. You know, if you watch the calendars, it'll keep you on track. Send us a message if you're confused, right? If it gets, you know, wonky, or there's some, you know, just like Naima just did. If it gets wonky, just let us know. Naima, you have your hand up. You're muted, honey.
So we're gonna be heavy in Python, light in HTML, and light in CSS. So I got that right?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing some HTML, CSS, because we're going to build one full front end, back end. You're going to build your portfolio essentially. So like a very simple portfolio with your resume, with just like a simple bio, just so you can practice like Flask. So you need to know HTML, CSS. And I'm going to do a lesson on HTML, CSS. So don't worry if you're not versed on it. I'm going to do a lesson on it, you know, and what you need to do for your portfolio and your bio, it's going to be simple. Like, again, the expectation is, you know, that you're learning Python Flask, right? So HTML, CSS, we're going to brush you up on it. If you don't know it, you'll have enough to do your portfolio. And it doesn't have to be something fancy. Again, it's just practice.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And if you don't know it, we'll get you resources. Cool. Okay. Anybody else?
Cool.
All right. I'm going to flip the slide. You can put your hand down tonight. Okay. So we're going to go through the class structure. Oh, wrong one. So you're going to have, and again, it says your before class reading and or videos. It's going to be 1 to 2 hours. And when I say 1 to 2 hours, most of them we're trying to keep to 1 hour. Okay. Some of them do not have any before class content, but most of the time you should plan to, for technical, it will be about 1 hour. Okay. That includes your quiz. It's probably going to be a lot of videos, light reading, but mostly all videos that you can, if you're on the train, if you're sitting on your break or whatever, it's going to be mostly videos. Introducing you to the content that we're going to be learning. It's really very important that you do the before class content before class, because that will help you understand what we're doing in class. Does that make sense? Because if you don't do the before class content, you're going to be lost during the lecture. And a lot of times, like some of these more, when we get to the advanced concepts, it's just going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, because like there's only so much we can cover in 50 minutes when it comes to the advanced content. So a lot of times these videos like go into depth about, like, you know, when we're doing object-oriented programming, which is classes, you know, these videos really go into depth about what classes mean and like the purpose of them. And, you know, I can't do that in 50 minutes, right? The purpose of the lecture is to, like, how do we implement it? How do we do it? The purpose of the video is, why do we use them? You know, that type of thing. So we're trying to balance our time and use of our time. Cool. The lecture is going to be, most of the lectures are going to be between 50 and 70 minutes. Some of the lectures will be the entire lecture time, because I'm going to be doing not only a lecture, but I'm actually going to walk you through an entire project. And then your homework will be to watch the video of the project and then build it yourself. That makes sense? So your homework won't be doing something new. It'll be watch the video and code along with me. Okay. So for the ones that, for lectures that are not full walkthroughs, you will typically have 50 minutes of me lecturing or Mark, and then you'll have a break, and then you'll come back, you'll be in pods, and then you'll work on your exercise. Hopefully you can get your exercise done. Okay, so you'll be in with 6 people, and then Jessica and I will rotate, or if you need help, you'll just somebody will raise their hand, ask for help, and one of us will come in and we'll help you guys. Cool. Make sense? Anybody have questions? Okay. Trying to watch time. Okay. Okay, so your pods, it's just, again, it's going to be active learning. You're going to start your assignment during pod time, hopefully finish. There's going to be 5 to 6 students per pod. You're going to be assigned a partner that I think you guys have already been assigned partners. Is that correct? Yes. That you will work with throughout the cohort. I believe that partner is going to be the same partner that you have for PDP. And then you'll be meeting with Dario bi-weekly. Okay. Okay, what to do if you need help. All right, so technical support. This is really important. Okay, how to find help. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to search the Slack channels. Okay, you're going to look through and that's not pre-lesson, before class content, and you're going to look through the lesson recordings. You can, as Alana showed you the other day, the Panopto recordings, you can search by word. If you're looking for a specific word like how to print, you can just search for the word print. 9 times out of 10, you're going to find your solution there. Okay. Next step is to Google it. If you're getting an error in your code, Google that error. Okay. Again, you'll probably find it either on Stack Overflow, which is a community-based help for coders, software engineers. Throw it into ChatGPT. Throw your error into ChatGPT. ChatGPT will probably tell you what's wrong. A lesson of heed my warning that if you're Googling an error, make sure that you don't always take it with a grain of salt, essentially. Check their work. When you implement it into your code, make sure that you just don't slap it in there and be like, oh, this is what's going to fix it, and don't run it and make sure it's what you want, because sometimes it'll break it and really break it. So that has happened to a lot of people. Okay. So make sure it's actually doing what you want it to do, and don't just paste it in there and be like, this is what it's supposed to do. I don't understand it. You need to understand what the solution is that they're providing you or ChatGPT is giving you. Don't just paste it in there. Okay. Discuss it with your cohort partner. That's what your partner is there for. Okay. Have a discussion with them. Send them a Slack message. Okay. Post a message into the Slack channel. I'm telling you, if you're having a problem, somebody else is having the same exact problem. Okay. Send a message in the question feedback form. So that feedback form that's on the main page that you can send Dario a message, you can also send a message in there. Okay. That'll come to someone on the teaching team, and we can assist you. And the last thing is attending office hours. We are still trying to solidify when the office hours are going to be, and those will be posted in the calendar for you guys. I think Alana, we're going to be having office hours on Saturday. So for this Saturday, we're going to have office hours for anybody who has not finished their technical setup. Because it's crucial that you guys are set up with the technical setup. So all your software is set up by Monday. Not Monday. Monday's a holiday for Tuesday. So I'll be holding office hours on Saturday. I don't know what time Alana put in the calendar yet. I'll have to look. So I'll be available on Saturday during office hours for anybody who still hasn't been set up yet. Okay, so let's talk about what to do when you're asking for help. Okay. Provide context for your question. Okay. What exactly is your question? Sum it up be specific with your title. Recreate, if you're having a problem, and again, the person who's trying to help you needs to be able to reproduce your issue, right? If they're trying to, like, if your code is like running, if you're running your code and you're getting an error, the person trying to help you needs to be able to reproduce that error. Okay. Are there any kind of constraints? Are you running a specific like Python version? Are you saying that you don't want to run, if you're not running in VS Code, you're running straight in terminal? All these are like foreign concepts to a lot of you because you haven't started coding yet. I understand that. But whatever constraints that you are using, mention those. Avoid using screenshots. Okay. And again, I'm saying screenshots of code. If you want somebody to help you in Slack, if you're putting it in Slack, there's a little plus sign. That plus sign, you can paste your code and that the person that's helping you can copy that code. If you're just screenshotting, the person is just stuck, right? They're going to have to retype your entire code. It's not helpful. If you use the plus sign, the person can actually copy and paste. That works so much better. And then share what you've already tried. You already tried changing this to this, this to this, this to this. What you've done to help yourself, that goes a long way. Cool? Okay. I know I've talked a lot, I'm sorry. I talked about office hours. I will be holding office hours. Jessica will be holding office hours. And yeah, help each other. It's a community. Okay. Be prepared when you come to office hours. And office hours are not just for technical help. If you just need somebody to talk to, come visit. It's all good. You know, we've been there. Jessica's been there. I've been there. You know, we're part of the community. If you're just having a bad day, you know, no biggie. You know, it's all good. Okay, so this is a lead up to tomorrow's to tomorrow, but I want to start the conversation a little bit. Okay, I have 10 minutes before we can break. 2 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna stop at a little pink line. The other stuff we're gonna talk about tomorrow. Okay, so these are 6 myths about software engineering that I want to chat about. I'm going to talk about the first 3 today, and the other 3 I'm going to talk about tomorrow. One programming language is better than the others. This is a myth that arises among all students or all new software engineers, especially because there's a fear of learning the wrong language, especially right now, because the market is so volatile. Everyone's like, should I learn Python? Should I learn Java? Should I learn front end? Should I learn back end? It's like, you know, you look at the job posting and it's very confusing. Should I go learn AI? Should I go learn blah? It's like, listen, you think that one language is going to be better than the other one and that you worry about it constantly. It is my opinion, and it's only my opinion, take it or leave it, that all languages are used in a professional setting, and that the basis of learning a language and the concepts are going to take you a long way. They all have a purpose, and it's that purpose and the broader scope that is important. Okay, learning printing and functions and data sets and data types and object-oriented programming, and all these things are critical, because once you learn it in one program, you can apply those concepts to the next one much easier. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one you learn first. You just need to learn one and learn it really well. Okay, there's a question. James, go ahead. You're muted.
It's more like a statement than a question. It's 2-part. There's a guy I found on YouTube that he says, hey, if this is where you're trying to head, so it's kind of like, think of where you're trying to go, your career base. And if you're trying to do this, these are helpful tools. So these coding programs are helpful for this. These are for this. So it's kind of like you know, you got to walk before you run. So it's like, if you don't understand any concepts, like the video you guys posted where a guy was a self-taught engineer and there was other programs he didn't learn yet and whatnot, but he understood it and then went and, you know, wrote down things that he didn't understand and then studied it. So it's kind of the same thing as you know, you got to learn your alphabet before you know how to spell words. So
yeah, absolutely. Like, I did finance for 15 years. And I can tell you that I was still learning about finance 15 years later. And I did high level, very, very like deep learning finance. And I've been doing Python like for quite some time. And even though if you take finance and you think about what finance is, right? And there's a lot of data analytics, right? So I came with a lot of that knowledge of data analytics, which you can lend into coding, right? I'm still blown away by what Python can do. It's like there are days where I'm like, oh my God, like I love it. Like so much joy comes from it, right? And it's not just Python. I think it's just computers, right? It's like you have so much fun. Like for my apprenticeship, I used a Raspberry Pi, which is like a little computer to test the moisture levels in my plants, right? And then to water them automatically. I mean, and I did that with Python, and I've only been coding for a year and a half. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I love it. Like, I don't have to water my plants anymore because now I can just use my computer to do it. Like, again, I've only been coding for a year and a half, people. Okay. Like, that's where you can be. Seriously. Okay. I'm not kidding. Okay. Software engineers only write code and do nothing else. Total misnomer. Okay. It's just not true. Okay. Software engineers are analysts, you're testers. Even if a company has a different department that tests your code, who are analysts, you're going to be doing analytics no matter what. Your projects, even though you're a programmer, you're going to be testing code. You're going to be testing your own code. And you're going to be you're going to be writing documentation for your code. No one's going to be writing for you. You have to write documents that say what your code does. And then you have to be in meetings with whoever, clients, your coworkers, explaining your code, why it's doing this or not doing it. So you have to have people skills. Okay. You have to be able to talk. So that goes into the next thing, that software engineers don't need people skills. It's such a stereotype. It is such a stereotype. The better you are of the more you work at being part of a team and being a good team player, the longer you're going to be at a job, the happier you're going to be. People in the field who stay to themselves don't enjoy their work. Like the whole I'm in the dark, like this whole picture. Where is it? This whole picture, this slide. Yeah, that's fine. Even if you're working from home remotely, you're going to be working with other people. You're going to be pair programming. There are a lot of companies where you are required to pair program. Pair programming means that somebody is working with you side by side all day on the same code. And you guys talk to each other all day. All day. If you can't communicate with that person, it's going to be a handicap. If you want to be successful, you have to be able to talk to somebody. Talk to your coworkers, talk to your boss, talk to your clients about what you want to do, what your ideas are, and how you're going to be great. That's it. It says, I mean, that's your goal. That's your golden ticket is, can you work with other people and can you elevate yourself? That's it. Because your work is going to speak for itself, but can you speak up for yourself? In a positive way. Okay, so the other stuff we're going to talk about tomorrow with Mark. That everything goes well and that the release of your project, the product is the end of your project and AI is going to solve everything and you won't have a job. We'll talk about all that tomorrow. No worries. Okay, so we're going to take a break. I'm going to field questions real quick, and then we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and then we're going to work on technical setups. So the videos that you guys watched, we're going to work on technical setups and get you guys started on setting up your Python, your VS Code, your Git, and your GitHub profiles. Kat has a question. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, so Dario just messaged me, told me that my laptop should be here on the 31st. I can't really set any of that up until then. I mean, I have a GitHub account. I know how to get all my happy stuff downloaded. I just can't get it on the device until the device gets here.
Mhm.
Because when I got out of prison and I was trying to show off some of my code and code for fun, I melted my laptop.
Okay.
It
Well,
wasn't built for this. So I can't really install any of that yet.
well,
But if it gets here on Thursday, I'll have it all set up and ready to go by Monday.
yeah, well, you can hang out in pod time and help somebody else.
Okay.
Cool. That work?
Thank you. Nope.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so we're gonna take a. I've been talking for an hour straight, so let's take a. Class goes till 8:30, right? So let's take a 15-minute break. So everyone come back at 7:45, and then we'll come back and we'll have pods set up, and we can start. And if you guys have questions, you can ask questions, stay in the main room for a few minutes after break, and then ask questions. And you can turn your cameras off during break. Hey, Jess,
Yeah.
can you turn the recording off?
Yeah.